Hey, glad y'all are back today. And if you're new, I'm glad you're here. And I hope you'll subscribe. Button is right down here in the corner. We'll be all through the video. We are glad you're here at Willie Farms today. My name is Craig, and we're going to bring you some information today, and I hope that it is helpful for you. Today I want to talk to you about soybeans. Now, not every homesteader or gardener grows soybeans in their garden. This year I decided to grow a few just to see what I could do with them. I'm thinking sometime in the future I may use them for chicken feed. They are high in protein. And I did pick an heirloom variety. I mainly wanted to see what kind of production I could get off of a plant. So I began to do research into the soybean. And this is a little wonder bean, and it does contain a lot of good things in it. And I found some very amazing facts on soybeans and some very disturbing facts on soybeans. And that is what we're going to go over today, as these two things. On average, the soybean contains 19% oil, 34% protein, 21% fiber, 9% soluble carbohydrates, 4% minerals, 13% moisture. Now that changes from variety to variety a little bit, not greatly. That's the average. Soybeans provide a great source of protein around the world to millions and millions of people every day. In 180 grams of soybean, there is 22 grams of protein, 26% of your daily calcium, 51% of your daily need of vitamin C, 25% of your body's daily need for iron. Now, the soybean is a major cash crop for farmers around the world. Last year, in 2022, they produced 350 million metric tons of soybeans. 116 million of those metric tons were produced in the United States. That's almost a third of the world's soybeans. And 94% of those soybeans were GMO, genetically modified organisms. 85% of the soybeans produced are used for the oil. It is extracted from the soybeans, and a byproduct of that soybean is soybean meal. Now, this soybean meal is used in all kinds of feed and food staples. It's in everything from fish food to dog food, and in a lot of the food that you consume. For instance, that slice of bread you had this morning, if you store-bought it, it probably had soybean meal in it, or some soy byproduct. The soybean meal that is converted into chicken feed, most chicken feed contain about 30% soy-based product. And that makes up almost 99% of the protein that is in your chicken feed. Please understand that I am not in any way putting any of the blame for the following statements on the American farmer. The American farmer, for over 100 years, has put food on the world's table. Farmers around the world feed 8.1 billion people every day, put the food on their table. So no way I'm blaming the farmers for this. I am blaming the developers and the marketers for promoting the GMO products and products that will harm the people. And the farmers, if they ask them questions, they're going to give them the answers they want to give them. They're going to quote studies that they have paid for to get. So understand that. No blame at all on the farmers. Now, this is where it gets interesting. In the soybeans, there is a chemical, an enzyme, trypsin inhibitor. Now, trypsin is produced by your pancreas, and in the small intestine, that helps break down and helps your body absorb protein. A trypsin inhibitor is an anti-nutrient. That means that it prevents the breakdown of these proteins, or at least some of them, from getting into your system. So they just pass through without giving you the protein. The bean may show it contains 34% protein, but how much of that protein can be absorbed if this trypsin inhibitor is there in the soybean meal? Now, trypsin inhibitor is found in a lot of legumes, but it's not in the amount that is in a soybean. For example, the kidney bean contains 3.1 milligrams per gram of trypsin. The peanut contains 5.6 milligrams per gram. The soybean contains 94.1 milligrams per gram of trypsin inhibitor. That is off the chart compared to every other legume out there. That is very concerning to me. That is a problem. With the trypsin inhibitor, TI, the anti-nutrient can reduce absorption of protein by chickens by 20% or more. And that is especially true of animals that have a single stomach. Now, the trypsin inhibitor can be negated by heat. Now, the heat cuts down on it, but it doesn't completely get rid of the trypsin in meal. The trypsin inhibitor in the meal is not tested for because it takes a lot of equipment to do that. It's a long list of procedures you have to go through to test for this TI, trypsin inhibitor, in the soy meal, so it is not tested. But there was a study done on the percentage of trypsin inhibitor. There was still 2.6 to 6 milligrams per gram of trypsin inhibitor still in the soy meal. 80% of the samples contain between 2 and 5% trypsin inhibitor after the heating process. So that still left a higher level of trypsin. Maybe not enough to make a big difference, but maybe just a little difference in the soy meal. And it's not tested, so maybe they're cutting back on cost. Maybe they're not heating it enough. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an engineer. I do not know how this works, and I'm not going to claim to know how that works. But it's something to look at, something to keep in the back of your mind. Now, chickens require 16% protein in their diet to lay eggs. That's a minimum. So if this trypsin inhibitor is in the feed, maybe at higher levels, maybe it can reduce the protein absorption. And if it reduces it just by 1 or 2%, that takes out the minimum protein in the chicken feed that allows them to lay eggs. Just that small amount. So you might want to look at something that contains more protein than just the minimum 16%, or add something to their diet to increase the protein intake from chickens from something else besides soybeans. I mean, if the 16% feed drops that much, 1 to 2%, that's the difference between you having eggs from your chickens and you getting no eggs from your chickens. That's a problem. There's also a chemical, soybean, which is a protein. This is toxic to some single stomach animals, can inhibit their growth by 25% or more. There's another problem with soybeans. It's got to do with the GMO factor, the genetically modified soybean. And remember, 94% of all soybeans in the U.S. are GMO soybean, genetically modified. It is a hormone-like substance, phytoestrogen. This mimics the female hormone estrogen. When this is fed to livestock, this is passed on, some of it is passed on to the consumer of that product, whether it be meat, eggs, cheese, milk. Some of this is passed on to you and I if we consume this GMO soybean. There was a Swiss study that showed that if you drank 2 glasses of soybean milk, that was the same amount of estrogen that is in 1 birth control pill. And just half a cup of soybean milk a day for males will reduce their ability to pass on their genetics due to low counts of sperm. And this is a really big problem. I mean, we're feeding phytoestrogens to our kids, to yourself, to I. Maybe you're wondering, why can't we get pregnant? This could be it. I mean, this phytoestrogen could be a reason that this is happening. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a scientist, but the studies that I have looked at tells me that this phytoestrogen is passed on through the food we eat and consume. And it does have an effect on our bodies, a negative effect. And yet another problem. Soybeans, majority, use a solvent-based chemical to help remove the fats and oils from the soybean. This is hexane. This is produced from crude oil. It's highly flammable. The vapors are very explosive. It is used in the printing industry, the furniture industry, the shoe industry. It's used in solvent glues, but it's in contact with our food. It has been shown that this hexane can cause nervous system problems if inhaled. Now that's in a vapor. That's if you have the hexane liquid evaporating and you're breathing that in, that can cause nerve problems. There is no real studies that I could find on consuming hexane either through skin absorption or ingestion of it. Now most of this may evaporate during the process, I'm not sure. But nonetheless, they're using a chemical-based solvent from crude oil that is put into gasoline, and they're using that on our food. It may not be a problem to you, but it is a serious problem to me. And to know that a lot of the food that we buy at the store, that we consume, contains soy in it. Only 6% of the soy in the United States would be organic. And to be organic, that means they could not use that hexane on it. They do not have a GMO background. Only 6%. So, 94% versus 6%. If you're consuming items off the grocery store shelves, you're consuming the 94% GMO product soybean. I urge you to do your own research on this and other foods. I mean, what are they putting on our foods? I don't know. I was looking into soybeans for my chicken feed, and I ran across this. And I dug deeper, and I found a lot of stuff out that I had no idea of. Some of you may have already known this. I'm sure a lot of you did. But I urge you, it's your responsibility to do your own research. You're responsible for the food you consume. Organic is probably going to be the better way to go, or grow your own food like a lot of homesteaders are doing. If you're not able to grow it, get with somebody that you trust that produces a crop that is organic or does not use the GMO and toxic chemicals on your food. It's a responsibility to you, for yourself and your family, to do this. So I urge you to do your research. Keep vigilant on this. Don't depend on the companies to tell you that this is safe, because they fund studies that will tell you it's safe. Oh, we have done a study on this and it is perfectly safe for human consumption. Well, maybe it didn't kill somebody outright, but maybe it did some harm to them in some other ways that may not show up for years and years. And definitely don't depend on the government. The safety and health value of your food that you consume is your responsibility. And it's a lot to put on you. Everybody is busy. It's hard to find this stuff out sometimes. It's hard to find time to do the research. But I'm telling you, it's vital to your health and your family's health. So remember, eat and stay healthy. And remember, count your blessings every day. God has blessed you. He has blessed me, I know. He's given you the blessing of choice. He has given you the blessing to choose what you put into your body. He has given you the blessing to choose what you research and what you know, the knowledge you have. So make healthy choices. Choose healthy food. Choose Christ. He is our hope. God bless. Bye from Woolly Farms.